Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well and thanks for being here. So this video is for the full moon in Leo, which is on the 12th, a couple of days away. I was actually just walking my dog and we saw the moon. It's filling out nicely, so we'll be nice and full on the 12th, so that's nice. But anyway, this video is just going to follow the usual format that I use. I will take a look at the astrological chart first, and then I'll take a look at the tarot spread for the full moon. I often do see connections between the two, but if you're not interested in the astrology at all, you can, of course, skip straight through to the tarot section. The timestamps for each section will be in the description box. Now, before we start with the astrology, we'll just do our love pause like we always do. So this is where we pause the video and send some love out into the universe. You can do this as a Ho'oponopono prayer, and that involves saying the 4 sentences. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. So I hope you'll join me in the love pause. The time to pause is now, and I'll see you all on the next slide. Okay, so this here is the full moon chart with the details highlighted. I'm calling this one a deceptively simple looking chart. So you might look at the lines and think there are only a few aspects here, but there is actually a lot going on. I've highlighted the full moon axis in purple. So the moon is at 24 degrees of Leo, which you'll see at about 4 o'clock on this chart. And the sun is at 24 degrees of Aquarius, which is up about 10 o'clock on this chart. And the first thing that's obvious is that the sun is conjunct Mercury in Aquarius. Now, as I mentioned in the last lunar video, the Aquarius energies are important because of Pluto's transit in Aquarius, which is going to last for the next 2 decades. Now, the Sun and Mercury here have both interacted with Pluto on their way to this conjunction. So it's almost like they're coming from an informed position because of that. And the Sun is obviously here illuminating the full moon, or the moon at this full moon, along with Mercury. So that's nice. And full moons are obviously about things being illuminated. So, you know, this could be quite an illuminating full moon, some revelations perhaps. Now, Aquarius is an air sign, and air signs obviously relate to our mind and our thoughts. So it looks very much like, especially with Mercury being there, it's very much that our thoughts are going to be illuminating here. So the moon tends to be about our intuition and our feelings, and Leo is a sign that we associate with the heart. So this might very much be about what we feel we want to do, or what we feel passionately committed to, what we have a desire to do, and those things are being illuminated further by information from our minds. So with our minds, our thoughts now focusing on those feelings and desires. And then things get interesting again, because that red triangle that you can see is actually highlighting a T-square that's coming in from Uranus in Taurus, and that's highlighted in red at about 7 o'clock on this chart. So Uranus is now direct as well, so I think it was retrograde in the last lunar video. So now it's, you know, going to have a lot more activity, more impactful activity, and it's in Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign. So the impact here is going to be on areas of our lives that have previously felt quite solid and safe in the past. Now this is earth sign territory, so it is going to affect our material lives. Taurus is the sign that relates to our material stability and security, the possessions we hold dear, the things we value, and our values themselves. Now Taurus is a Venus-ruled sign, so it's also about what we've created and brought to life and nurtured. And as such, this might actually be an area of life that matters a lot. So if you do have access to your birth chart, you might actually want to check out the house that relates to the last few degrees of Taurus, because this is the house where this Uranus impact is going to be. Now, a fixed sign T-square is always going to be quite dramatic, and that's because fixed signs do tend to have a natural stubbornness and a natural resistance to change. So they don't deal well with, you know, any sort of pressure to change. But clearly Uranus here is the most powerful energy in this T-square, and it's in the most powerful position because it is in that, you know, the apex of that T-square. So I'm just feeling like, with this being Earth's fixed Earth energy, it's almost like something is going to be fractured here. So it's a bit like a bone breaking from the force of this impact. So it was something that was solid and structurally intact, and then it's not, it's broken. So quite dramatic energy there. Now the sun is the ruler of this full moon, and that's actually a little bit interesting because at the last full moon, the moon was the ruler of the full moon because it was a Cancer full moon. But anyway, getting back to the chart, we've got highlighted in blue at about 9 o'clock on the chart is Neptune and the North Node, which are in conjunction, and that's going to be, it's actually very close to exact because we're looking at 28 and 29 degrees. So that's another powerful conjunction, and I've mentioned it before. Neptune's nearing the end of Pisces, which is the sign it rules, and it's also the last sign of the zodiac wheel. So that means Neptune is actually completing its 165-year cycle, and it will start a new cycle in Aries. So that does mean that some things will have to end for that new beginning, and that's timing in really well with this full moon. Now, the North Node obviously relates to the direction our soul is meant to travel in this lifetime, and that's why this conjunction is so profound. So these are endings that will guide us on our soul's journey. And this conjunction also has a sextile with Pluto in Aquarius, which I've highlighted in light green at about 11 o'clock on this chart. So those transformative Pluto energies are actually playing into this North Node Neptune conjunction as well. And Pluto is also in a sextile with Venus in Aries, which I've also highlighted in light green at about 9 o'clock on the chart. And that's a pretty cool dynamic as well. So Venus represents the divine feminine energy, and that is about what we choose to create and nurture. And Venus in Aries is a great placement because this is a confident Venus, a Venus who's inspired and passionate and who can bring something new into being. And I say that because Aries is a cardinal fire sign. It's a very activating energy. So with all of this, we have some things that are closing out and some things that are being brought into being. And Pluto is influencing all of that. And the North Node is being influenced at this point in time as well. Now, the other major aspect here is Saturn in Pisces, which is trining Mars retrograde in Cancer. I feel like I covered this in the last video, but they're now approaching an exact trine. Now, Saturn in Pisces is about the structures and boundaries that relate to our spiritual values, and Mars here is being informed, really. Mars is in retrograde in Cancer, so it's still not a time for action, but Mars is receiving the guidance that will be important when it does go direct. And there's also a square here between Chiron and Aries and Mars, and that's indicating there is some healing going on that is currently a bit of a challenge to Mars as well. But I always see healing as a good thing, so I think it will be a good thing ultimately. And really that's all I'm getting from this chart. I will just take a look at the tarot spread next. Okay, so we've got here the cards that showed up for this full moon. If you would like to know the decks that I've used here, they are listed in the description box. Now I'm seeing a few connections already to the astrology because we've got 3 major arcana cards here and they relate to Venus, Taurus and Pluto. Can you believe it? And that Creator Air Oracle card is also making me think of Pluto in Aquarius, which is in those sextiles with Venus and Aries and the North Node. You know, giving us ideas that inspire creation and redirection. And as I say redirection, I'm drawn to the card with all the signs that are pointing in different directions. I think I'm going to have to stop here and kind of get back to the beginning because it's starting to get messy. I'm sort of jumping to different cards already. So I'm just going to go back and read the spread the way I would normally do so that there is some kind of flow and structure to it. All right, so the card at the bottom of the deck was the Knight of Pentacles, and this is an archetypal energy that is about someone who commits to something for the long haul. They have a vision and they know it's going to take a while, but they're totally okay with that. So this is someone who appreciates that slow and steady will eventually get them the result they're after. So this is the kind of person who really can take on something big and just plug away at it for years or however long it's going to take. They're determined and committed and they believe in themselves. So the Knight of Pentacles is an earth sign energy, but I do tend to read it as Virgo. And the card that was immediately under this Knight of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck was the Empress card. So this is divine feminine energy, and that actually feels like a blessing following this Knight of Pentacles, because the Empress can bring things to life and nurture them, and she's working with this Knight of Pentacles here. And in these images, he's prepared the land and he's done the planting. And then we see in her card, we see wheat and we see a pomegranate. So that gives you the sense that these things will grow just fine in this field. And that's such a lovely energy to have at the bottom of the deck. I really like it. Now the main spread features the Hierophant in the past position, the Seven of Pentacles in the present position, and the Judgment card in the future position. I really don't know why, but I'm really liking these energies. I know the astrology was talking about shake-ups and things, but this just feels really good. I'm just feeling good, like really happy. I'm even smiling as I'm looking at the spread. So again, I'm feeling this temptation to jump to certain cards. So there's something going on here that's making me do that. And I feel like this is like someone who's giddy with happiness, and they really can't focus because it's all feeling good. And I think that's the energy I'm picking up from here. So I feel like if there are shake-ups for the collective that's watching this reading, it could actually be things going favorably. So that's good. I don't want to promise that for everyone, but I'll keep going with the reading, and I hope the channeling does resonate for you and does come to be for you. Now, the Hierophant card is traditionally about a spiritual leader or teacher, someone who's connected to spirit and sort of brings that information and guidance down to the earthly realm. It can also be about things that unfold in a traditional way. And I also tend to read it as someone who's gone through some process where they started at the bottom and they worked their way up to the top. And they did this the honest way, the right way. No shortcuts, no cheat codes, nothing like that. They just did the work and learned the lessons and got the experience and gained the wisdom. So very much following the sequence that they should. And that's how they've ended up becoming the leader or the teacher that they are. People respect them, their opinions, their judgment, their advice. People listen to them. So having the Hierophant there in the past position, that's a really solid starting point. And then we have the Seven of Pentacles in the present position, which is actually very closely related to those bottom of the deck energies. So the Seven of Pentacles is about someone who has been patiently investing in something, and that investment is starting to bear fruit for them. So very, very much the same as what we were getting from the bottom of the deck. But what I'm getting from this is a sense of timing. So it's giving me a bit of perspective there, because the Seven of Pentacles, things take time, and the Knight of Pentacles, again, is a slow mover. So all of this is telling me that the things that are coming into fruition now, they're the result of something that started a long, long time ago. So this person got the field ready and they planted the seeds and they looked after their plants, and, whatever they were working on, it could even be that whatever they were working on is what made them become the Hierophant in the first place. So anyway, they've invested, I think, in learning and understanding and acquiring skills and practicing them. They've wanted to accomplish something, and now they have, it looks like, because the rewards are starting to show up. And the last card here is the Judgment card, which makes me think of cosmic judgment. So this person is called up, and the judgment is about where they're at and what they've done, the choices they've made and the actions they've taken. And I actually think the judgment often is actually just about how we feel about that, so how we see our journey. So so this is a Pluto card. Judgment is a Pluto card, but I actually don't see this as being about how Pluto is going to transform your life in ways that are beyond your control. I tend to see Pluto in the Judgment card as being how you will choose to transform your life. So if you're standing at this point of judgment and reflecting on the past, and you're thinking things like, it was tough, but I worked hard and I did the best I could. I've been a pretty good person. I've done pretty well. I did get some things wrong, but I've learned so much about life and myself, and I'm okay with how things have turned out. So if you were standing here at that point of judgment and those are the kinds of thoughts you're having, then you've judged yourself and you know that you're a good person and you deserve to be happy. So if you are here at this point of judgment and you give yourself the tick of approval, then you will progress to the next card, which is the World card, where there is completion of the cycle because you've passed the judgment test. On the other hand, if you're standing here at this point of judgment with a heavy heart, and you know that you've made some bad choices, you know that you've done some wrong things, you know that you've hurt some people, well, you're really not going to be able to judge yourself favorably, even if you really want to, because you know that in your heart you haven't behaved honorably, because you actually haven't. And I'm thinking of the scales in the ancient Egyptian equivalent of Judgment Day, and that's where a person's heart gets weighed against a feather. And they could only pass that judgment if their heart was feather light. And passing that judgment is what meant the person could move on into the afterlife. So the afterlife, or whatever is going to come after the World card for this person, is really based on this judgment. So, and thinking about it, your heart can only be lighter than a feather if there's nothing weighing on your conscience. You know you've done good things, you've treated others fairly. If, on the other hand, there are shady things you've done and things that you have to hide from others because they're wrong, well, then your conscience isn't clear. And I think that that, and I think on some level that if you were to be judged, it wouldn't go well for you, because there have to be consequences that come for the things you've done. And, if you haven't done good things, the consequences aren't likely to be good. And that's about justice, reaping what you have sown. If your choices and actions were well-intentioned, you're going to reap good things. If you did things to others that were cruel, harmful, or unfair, you're not going to reap good things, And as I said before, Judgment is a Pluto card, but the World card, the next card, is actually a Saturn card. And Saturn is not going to let you pass if you haven't done the work or learned the lessons, Saturn is the planet that I associate with karma. Saturn is tough, but Saturn is also fair. So even though Saturn has that reputation as a malefic planet, if you've done the work and learned the lessons and passed the judgment, Saturn will give you the reward for that. So I always think of Saturn as being like that tough boss who really isn't nice to anyone. But they do know who their best employees are. And when it's time for the pay rises and bonuses and promotions and opportunities, they're going to be fair in who they offer those things to. They're going to give it to the employees who most deserve it. And when it's time for layoffs, they also know who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go of. They're a tough boss, but they're fair. And really, with a tough boss like that, it's not a case of luck if you do well, it's not luck that's going to get you those rewards. It's the fact that you worked for those rewards, you earned them, and you deserve them. And this is, I'm getting a sense that this, whatever is coming, the good consequences perhaps, these are things that other people might look at and think, oh, this person's so lucky, or, in the case of Saturn, oh, they're the boss's favorite kind of stuff, and they might be feeling envious and things like that. But that actually annoys me, to be honest, because it's actually really arrogant to think that other people are just lucky when you don't know how hard they've worked, or how many challenges they've faced, or how much they've had to sacrifice to get that result. And they may, in fact, have put so much more into it than you have, and accomplished so much more than you have. And in this case, I don't think this boss, Saturn, is going to play favourites at all. Saturn is hard on everyone. It's just that Saturn is fair. So if someone's done the work and proven their worth, they're worthy of what they get. And that's actually making me think of something my children say, because they say you have to be worthy of Mjolnir. And that's from watching the Avengers movies. I don't know if you guys watch them, but Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, can only be wielded by those with pure intentions. And in the Avengers movies, the only Avengers that actually managed to wield that hammer are Thor, Captain America, and Vision. I think that's all. I think they're the only ones. And none of the Avengers can even pick this hammer up. And maybe that's a message too, because I mean, technically, all of the Avengers are on the good side. They're all good guys. But I think this is like that feather light heart thing. So some of those Avengers characters have darker pasts and have done some dark things in the past. Black Widow even talks about the red in her ledger that she needs to bring back into balance. So while these other Avengers are fighting on the good side, they're on the good team, there is still heaviness in their hearts because there are still things that weigh on their conscience, and perhaps there are past experiences that they haven't processed and worked through yet. And so maybe this is saying that that concept of a feather light heart is also an important element here. So I feel like this is saying that it's not enough to just be a good person. You also need to have faced your shadows and made peace with them. So this might have required you to apologize to the people you've hurt or make amends for the things you did in the past. You have to grow and evolve to the point where you know that you are a completely different person to who you used to be. And from that elevated place, you are actually able to forgive and have compassion for the person that you used to be. And when you can do that, you will pass the judgment because the person you've become is worthy of that, even if the person you were wasn't. So that would be Saturn rewarding you for the way that you've turned yourself around and ascended. And that's really powerful to think about. So I'm thinking of the Knight of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles, which both say that someone has really plugged away at something to make progress and they knew there would be a good result one day. And I'm thinking of the Hierophant, who's done this honest work and taken no shortcuts. So I feel like this reading is talking about people who didn't give up on themselves or their long-term vision. These are people who got through their challenges, they faced their demons, they healed their wounds, they did the work that's required for spiritual ascension. So this judgment is favorable for this group of people who have earned Saturn's respect. So they will move through the judgment process, through the world card and into the afterlife that they deserve. Now I'm going to stop there with the tarot cards because I haven't even touched on the oracle cards yet, but I'll certainly come back to the tarot if the oracle cards seem to be related. And I'm just thinking back to that giddy excitement that I was feeling at the start of this reading, and that energy is gone now, but I do feel like that might have been the energy of anticipation. So I think some of you out there do know that there are good things coming. You can actually feel it in your bones. You can feel that sort of buzz already. And I guess if you are someone with a feather light heart, you really aren't someone who's going to fear the process of judgment. And I'm getting an example of like a competition. If you were to enter something into a competition and you know that it's your best work, you've put your heart and soul into it, everyone who's seen your work is loving it, and you're standing there waiting for the official judgment. Now, I'm not going to say that you're a sure winner or that you're feeling overconfident, but you already have that knowledge that you've earned a place for your work. It's either going to be first, second, or third. You kind of know that already, and so you're already happy because that's the outcome you've been working so hard for. You've put so much of yourself into something, and here comes the validation, the recognition, the acknowledgement. You've accomplished what you set out to accomplish. Now, that's not to say your journey is over, because it's probably going to be more like the beginning of a whole new journey, because now that it's out there that you're capable of something special, you might be expected to show people more of what you can do. And you're also probably going to want to push yourself further so you might actually find that you're setting yourself some new goals and working on those because you just want to keep growing as you have been. Now, that competition scenario is just an example, but I am feeling like the world energy means that what you initially set out to do has come to fruition. So you will now need to work out what you're going to put your energies into next because that old goal has actually been accomplished. Now, the first oracle card here is a number 13 card and it's called Confusion. 13 is actually the death card in tarot, so that's also saying that's also carrying the message of something ending. And this particular card is talking about that decision of where do you go next. It's got some signs on it saying past this way, future that way, known this way, unknown this way, and perhaps and maybe. So there's a few signs there. The card is titled Confusion, and it has the keywords many choices and uncertainty. I'm actually not feeling the uncertainty though, and that's because we've got the Creator Air card as the very next card, which, as I said earlier, it does make me think of Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto is the transformer, and it's in the air sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is the sign that I associate with the King of Swords. So that's the intelligent king, the clear-headed king, the logical king. He would come to a crossroads like this and he would make the wisest decision. So if he was standing here in front of these signs at this crossroads, he'd be saying, well, what is it that I want to create? Which of these options is going to allow me to create what I want to create? And that's the option I'm going to choose. All this other stuff is just noise that, it's just here as distraction. So the King of Swords would have that kind of just that clear head, and it's not going to be confusing for him. And the other thing to point out is that Aquarius is also the sign that focuses on the collective and the greater good. So again, if the King of Swords was standing there, he'd also be thinking, well, what decision do I make that's going to be for the best and highest good of everyone concerned? What decision can I make that aligns A, with my values, but is also B, going to benefit the collective? So I'm seeing King of Swords here, so I don't think you're going to be that confused about the direction. And the other thing, because I'm getting Pluto in Aquarius, as I said, the other thing to remember is Pluto is there to transform things. So even if the best option that you've got isn't in perfect alignment, you might choose it because it's close and you know how you're going to tweak it to make it perfectly align. So I do like that the Creator Air card showed up because I feel like that means you're going to approach all of your choices with the clear-headed perspective of what the vision is that you have for the future. But it is funny, I will share this. When I first was pulling the cards, I got Creator Air right after Confusion, and I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. And it's because I'm a fire, water person. Those are my elements. So my natural tendencies when I have to make choices is that I would go with, what feels good, what excites me. So when the Creator Air came out, I thought, oh, so I'm being told that I'm not to do that this time if there is some confusion. So this time we're not doing what feels good or what excites us. We're going to be doing the using our head thing. And that's not to say that what feels good and what excites us isn't going to come into it. I am actually suspecting that it's already factored into the vision for the future. So I feel like this vision for the future is exactly what you want to create. It is going to be something you're going to enjoy, and it is going to be something that feels really good. But here at this crossroads, the thing you need to be using is your mind, because what I feel is happening here is that your mind knows what the vision is, and it knows the steps that are necessary, and it's going to take those steps in an emotionally detached way. So Aquarius is described as the water bearer, and the water bearer carries the water, and water is obviously the element of emotions and feelings. So the water bearer is carrying the water, but they remain dry because the water is being held in a vessel. Now, the water bearer obviously does value the water, which is why they're carrying it. They value it, and so they've put the water in a vessel that will hold it and preserve it and protect it. And it's almost like they're the guardian of the water in that sense. So this feels to me like your mind saying to your heart, dear heart, I know what you want and I know how to make it happen. You can relax now and I'll take care of it. And that is so beautiful when you think about it, because perhaps that's what the beautiful afterlife story is. Your mind is no longer operating in an egoic way. It's not doing the my way or the highway thing anymore. It's not callously trampling every obstacle. such as your feelings, your values, other people. It's not trampling over all of that in order to win. So your mind is different now. It's not going to be doing that anymore. It's actually surrendered to your heart's wishes. It's going to do what it takes to make your heart happy. It wants your heart to feel good, and it wants to make other people feel good as well, because it knows that other people matter to your heart. So, wow, that is so beautiful. In fact, it's so sweet that I almost want to stop here, because it's such a sweet message to get. But there is this one last card, so I will just have to keep going. Now, the last card is titled Receive, and it features a woman and a unicorn. Now, when I first pulled this oracle card, it was the third card that I pulled, and so I had the 3 oracle cards together, and I noticed this crystal ball she was holding, and it reminded me of my own amethyst crystal ball that I have. So I pulled that into the spread before I got my tarot cards. But it also, seeing those 3 cards, it also highlighted how that color purple is so strong in that row. And as I said, I hadn't even picked the tarot deck for the spread at this point. So one of the earliest messages that came through with the spread was the crown chakra is leading the way. Now, the crown chakra is about enlightenment and unity consciousness. And that's unity consciousness is where we understand that we are actually all source. We're all connected because we're all little particles of source. So the way we treat others matters, the good things we do for others, it helps them, but it also helps us because we are all source. If other people rise, then we rise too. If other people get stronger, then we get stronger too. A source gets stronger. But if you're doing the opposite, so if you're pushing people down, tearing people down, hurting them, making them suffer, those actions affect you too, because you are actually harming source and you are part of source as well. So a person who understands unity consciousness knows that you can't hurt others without hurting yourself. If you've hurt others, you'll see one day that, just like Black Widow said, you'll see one day that you have red in your ledger and that it needs to be brought into balance. And that's actually not an easy process. And that's what karma is, it's that consequence. Like you've got red in your ledger, and you've got to bring it back into black or back to balance. So that's an important message, I think. Now, getting back to this receive card, I do feel like it's talking about Satan. Sorry, what did I say Satan for? Saturn's reward for the ones who have passed the judgment. I can't believe I said that. Anyway, moving on. So I hope Satan's not rewarding anyone. Good God. Anyway, I'll get back to this. Whoa. It reads, so this card reads, be open to receiving goodness. Believe you are worthy of abundance. A gift is coming to you soon. So as my kids say, you're worthy of abundance, you're worthy of Mjolnir here. So if you happen to be gifted with a hammer, you're the right person to wield that hammer. It's not a case of luck or mistaken identity. What the universe brings to you is meant for you. And I just got sight. You're being blessed with sight. So I couldn't work it out before, but I've been looking at my amethyst crystal in the spread, and I've been seeing that blue, something blue reflected in it, and I couldn't think of anything in that bright shade of blue. Like I don't think I was wearing blue or anything, but there was something reflected there, and I didn't know what it was. But as I was looking at this receive card, I saw this woman's bright blue eyes, and then I looked over and I saw the bright blue lamp posts with the 2 lights on that confusion card. So I think it is sight, 2 blue eyes, 2 lights there. So I think it's sight, clear sight, the ability to see more and further. And the word clairvoyance actually means clear seeing. So maybe that is the gift that's coming through, is the gift of clairvoyance. And that actually fits quite well, doesn't it? Because she's holding a crystal ball, and we do associate crystal balls with a psychic looking into a crystal ball and seeing things in there. And obviously amethyst is a crown chakra stone that enhances psychic abilities. And she's standing there with a unicorn, which is also a suggestion that she's able to see things that other people can't see. And so the things that she will see will seem like magic to other people because she knows things that she couldn't possibly know. And wow, that's an unexpected note to finish on. So please do let me know in the comments if you do have some psychic up-leveling with this full moon. But yeah, that's it for this tarot spread. So thanks for watching. Okay, so this is our last slide. If you watched this video, thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. As I mentioned, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. So please do share with me if you would like to. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Now the decks, as I mentioned, are listed in the description box. There are some Amazon affiliate links there, so you can click on them to check the decks out. The other thing with those links is if you do click on the links and purchase the deck, I might get a small commission from Amazon, which comes through at no cost to you. So the link should take you to your local Amazon site, the one you would normally use, and your shopping experience really shouldn't be any different to what you get normally when you shop on Amazon. If you're interested in using my affiliate links, do just read the extra information in the description box. And I think that's all I need to tell you. So yeah, thank you. I hope this video was good and you enjoyed it. And I hope that I'll see you again in another video. Take care, everyone.